Hello there, YouTube. My name is Wendy, but please call me Wendy, and welcome back to Read With Me, the wonderful fun series where we're gonna sit down, we're gonna relax, and we're just gonna try and forget about the whole day. Holy moly! Before we start the official video and everything, I know my video from that I recorded like Tuesday night and uploaded yesterday went up like super late, and I'm so sorry about that. I don't know why it's taking so much longer for YouTube to upload my videos. Because when I was doing, like, a lot of my videos for reading and whatnot for the, Red Queen series, I mean, they've been an hour, a little over an hour, excuse me, for the most part, and I never had a problem until recently, so I don't know if it's YouTube, I don't know if it's my side, like, on the internet or whatever, but I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm gonna upload this. I'm starting uploading this, like, late at night, so, like, if there's ever a time where a video seems to go up in the middle of the night, it's probably because I just started the upload process early to make sure it got out when it was supposed to. But yeah. On top of that, we had another storm and everything. Not as bad as the first one. Still pretty bad, though, but we're fine. Anyway, not the point of today's video. No, today's video, we are reading chapter 29 and the epilogue of King's Cage. We're gonna finish the book. I'm so excited. I don't think there's not a huge amount left. I think some of the end of it is acknowledgements and stuff. Excuse me. But just a reminder that this is the third book in the Red Queen series. We are finishing it. We will then be starting Warstorm, the fourth book in the Red Queen series, next week. So I'm very excited about that. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and just jump right on in to the ending of King's Cage. Okay. Alright. Alright. Chapter 29 is Evangeline's point of view. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Chapter 29 with Evangeline. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Here we go. I hope you guys can hear me. Alright. Chapter 29. The doors of Corvium's administrative tower are solid oak, but their hinges and trimmings are iron. They glide open in front of us, bowing before the royal house of Samos. We enter the council chamber gracefully, in front of the eyes of our patchwork excuse for an alliance. Montfort and the Scarlet Guard sit on the left, simple in their green uniforms. Our Silvers on the right in their varying house colors. Their respective leaders, Premier Davidson and Queen Annabelle, watching us enter in silence. Annabelle wears her crown now, marking herself as a queen, albeit to a long-dead king. It's a beaten ring of rose gold, set with tiny black gems. Simple, but it stands out all the same. She drums her diddly fingers on the flat of the table, eagerly displaying her wedding ring, a fiery red jewel, also set in rose gold. Like Davidson, she has the look of a predator, never blinking, never distracted. Prince Tiberius and Mare are not here, or else I cannot see them. I wonder if they'll split into their respective sides and colors. Windows on every side of the tower room open on the land, where the air still smolders with ash and the western fields are choked in mud, flooded and swamped by the extra-seasonal catastrophe. Even this high up, everything smells like blood. I scrubbed my hands for what seemed like hours, washing every inch, and still I can't get rid of the scent. It clings like a ghost, harder to forget than the faces of the people I killed on the field. The metallic taint infects everything. Despite the commanding view, all eyes focus on the more commanding person leading our family. Father has no black robes, just his chromium armor shimmering like a mirror melded to his trim form. A warrior king in every inch. Mother does not disappoint either. Her crown of green stones matches the emerald boa constrictor draped around her neck and shoulders like a shawl. It slithers slowly, scales reflecting the afternoon light. Ptolemus looks similar to father, though the armor painted to his broad chest, narrow waist, and lean legs is black as oil. Mine is a mix of both, stripped in skin-tight layers of chromium and black steel. It is the armor I wore on the field, but the armor I need now. Terrible, threatening, showing every ounce of Samos' pride and power. 4 chair-like thrones are set against the windows, and we sit as one, presenting a united front. No matter how much I want to scream. I feel like a traitor to myself, having let days, weeks pass without opposition. Without so much as a whisper of how much Father's plan terrifies me. I don't want to be Queen of Norta. I don't want to belong to anyone. But what I want doesn't matter. Nothing will frighten my father's machinations. King Vol was not one to be denied. Not by his own daughter, his flesh and blood, his possession. An all too familiar ache rises in my chest as I settle onto my throne. I do my best to keep composed, quiet, and dutiful, loyal to my blood. It's all I know. I haven't spoken to my father in weeks. I can only nod in his commands. Words are beyond my ability. If I open my mouth, I fear my temper will get the best of me. It was Tolly's idea to stay quiet. Give it time, Eve. Give it time. But time for what? I have no idea. Father doesn't change his mind, and Queen Annabelle is hell-bent on pushing her grandson back to the throne. My brother is just as disappointed as I am. Everything we did, marrying him to Elaine, betraying Maven, supporting Father's kingly ambitions, was so we could stay together. All for nothing. He'll ruin the rift, married to the girl I love, while I'm shipped off like a crate of ammunition. Once more, a gift to a king. I'm grateful for the distraction when Mare Barrow decides to grace the council with her presence. Prince Tiberius trailing at her heels. I forgot what a tragic puppy he became in her presence, all wide eyes begging for attention. His keen soldier... Sorry, there's a gnat. His keen soldier sense trains on her instead of the task at hand. Both of them are still vibrating with adrenaline from the siege. And no wonder. It was a brutal thing. Barrow still has blood on her uniform. Both trek down the central aisle, splitting the council. If they feel the weight of their action, they don't show it. Most conversation reduces to a murmur or stops altogether to watch the pair, waiting to see which side of the room they choose. Mare is quick, stalking past the front row of green uniforms to lean against the far wall, out of the spotlight. The prince, the rightful king of Norta, doesn't follow. He approaches his grandmother instead, one hand outstretched to embrace her. Annabelle is much smaller than him, reduced to an old woman in his presence, but her arms encircle him easily. They have the same eyes, burning like heated bronze. She grins up at him. Tiberius lingers in her embrace, just for a moment, holding on to the last piece of his family. The seat beside his grandmother is empty, but he doesn't take it. He elects to join Mare at the wall. He crosses his arms over his broad chest, fixing Father with a heated stare. I wonder if he knows what she has planned for the two of us. No one takes the seat he left behind. No one dares take the place of the rightful heir to Norta. My beloved betrothed, echoes in my head. The words taunt me worse than my mother's snakes. Suddenly, with a flick of his hand, Father drags Celine Irel by his belt buckle, pulling him up from his seat, over his table, across the oak floor. No one protests, or makes a sound. You're supposed to be hunters. Father's voice rumbles low in his throat. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Irel didn't bother to wash off after the battle, evidenced by the sweat matting his black hair. Or maybe he's just petrified. Nah, I wouldn't blame him. Your Majesty, you ensured Maven would not escape. I believe your exact words, my lord, were, "No snake can escape a silk fist." Father doesn't condescend to look at this failure of a lord, an embarrassment to his house and his name. Mother watches for both, enough for both of them, seeing with her own eyes as well as the eyes of the green snake. I have no idea what just happened there. I heard something kind of like settle, I guess. Maybe my door. I don't know. Anyway, let me go ahead and back up just a little bit. Okay. Mother watches enough for both of them, seeing with her own eyes as well as the eyes of the green snake. It notices me staring and flicks its forked pink tongue in my direction. Others watch Salen's humiliation. The reds look dirtier than Celine. Some of them still kicked in mud and blue with cold. At least they aren't drunk. Lord General Laris sways in his chair, sipping conspicuously from a flask larger than anything one should have in polite company. Not that father or mother or anyone else will begrudge him the liquor. Excuse me. Laris and his house did their job beautifully, bringing air just to the cause while dissipating that infernal storm threatening to snow Corvium under. They proved their worth. As did the New Bloods. Silly as their chosen name sounds, they held off the attack for hours. Without their blood and sacrifice, Corvium would be back in Maven's hands. Instead, he failed a second time. He has been defeated twice. Once by rabble, and now at the hands of a proper army and a proper king. My gut twists. Even though he won, the victory feels like a defeat to me. Mare glowers at the exchange, her entire body tensing like a twisting wire. Her eyes tick between Celine and my father, before straying to Tolly. I feel a tremor of fear for my brother, even though she promised not to kill him. In Caesar Square, she unleashed a wrath like I have never seen, and on the Corvian battlefield she held her own, even surrounded by an army of silvers. Her lightning is far deadlier than I remember. If she chose to murder Tolly right now, I doubt anyone could stop her. Punish her, of course, but not stop her. I had a feeling she won't be terribly pleased by Annabelle's plan. Any silver woman in love with the king would be content to be a consort. Bound, though not married. But I don't believe Reds think that way. They have no idea how important the house bonds are, or how deeply vital heirs of strong blood have always been. They think love matters when wedding vows are spoken. I suppose that is a small blessing in their lives. Without power, without strength, they have nothing to protect, no legacy to uphold. Their lives are inconsequential, but still, their lives are their own. As I thought mine was, for a few brief, foolish weeks. On the battlefield, I told Mare Barrow not to make a habit of letting me save her. Ironic. Now I hope she saves me from a queen's gilded prison and a king's bridal cage. I hope her storm destroys the alliance before it even takes root. Prepares for an escape as well as attack. Swifts were in place. Transports, airjets, we never even saw Maven. Celine keeps up his protest, hands raised above his head. Father lets him. Father always gives a person enough rope to hang themselves. The Lakelander king was there. He commanded his troops himself. Father's eyes flash and darken, the only indication of his sudden discomfort. And now he lies in a grave with them. Celine glances up at his steel king, a child searching for approval. He trembles down to his fingertips. I think of Iris left behind in Archeon, a new queen on a poisoned throne, and now without her father, cut off from the only family who came south at her side. She was formidable, to say the least, but this will weaken her immensely. If she weren't my enemy, I might feel pity. Slowly, Father rises from his throne. He looks thoughtful. Who killed the king of the Lakelands? The noose tightens. Slane grins. I did. The noose snaps, and so does Father. With a clenched fist and the blink of an eye, he twists Celine's buttons off his jacket, rolling them into thin spindles of iron, each one wrapped around his neck. Pulling, forcing Celine to stand. They keep rising until his toes scrabble against the floor, searching for purpose. At the tables, the Montfort leader leans back in his chair. The woman next to him, a very severe blonde with facial scars, curls her lips into a scowl. I remember her from the attack on Somerton, the one that almost took my brother's life. Cal tortured her himself, and now they're practically side by side. She's Scarlet Guard, highly ranked, and if I'm not mistaken, one of Mare's closest allies. Your orders, Celine chokes out. He claws at the iron threads around his neck, digging into his flesh. His face grays as blood pools beneath his skin, or his flesh. My orders were to kill Maven Kalor or prevent his escape. You did neither. I killed the king of sovereign nation, an ally of Norta who had no reason to do anything but defend the new Lakelander queen. But now, Father scoffs, using his ability to draw Celine closer. You've given him a rather wonderful incentive to drown us all. The ruling queen of the Lakelands will not stand for this. He slaps Celine across the face with a resounding crack. The blow is meant to shame, not hurt. It works well. I strip you of your titles and responsibilities. House Rail, redistribute them as you see fit, and get this worm out of my sight. Celine's family is quick to drag him from the chamber before he can dig a deeper hole. When the iron threads spring free, all he does is cough and perhaps cry. Excuse me. His sobs echo in the hall, but are quickly cut off by the slamming of the doors. A pathetic man. Though I'm glad he didn't kill Maven. If the Kalora brat died today, there would be no obstacle between Cal and the throne. Cal and me. This way, at least, there is some dark hope. Excuse me. Does anyone have anything useful to contribute? Father sits back down smoothly and runs a finger down the spine of Mother's snake. Its eyes slide shut in pleasure. Disgusting. Okay. Gerald Haven looks like he wants to disappear in his chair, and he just might. He stares at his folded hands, willing my father not to humiliate him next. Luckily, he's saved by the scowling Scarlet Guard commander. She stands, scraping back her seat. Our intelligence indicates that Maven Kalor now relies on eyes to keep him safe. They can see the immediate future. Mother clucks her tongue. We know what an eye is, Red. Good for you, the commander replies without hesitation. If not for Father and our precarious position, I expect Mother would ram her emerald snake down the Red's throat. She just purses her lips. Control your people, Premier, or I will. I am a command general of the Scarlet Guard, Silver. The woman spits back. I catch Mare smirking behind her. If you want our help, you're going to show some respect. Of course. Mother concedes graciously. Her gems sparkle as she dips her head. Respect where respect is due. The commander still glowers, her rage boiling. She eyes my mother's crown with disgust. Thinking quickly, I clap my hands together. A familiar sound. A summons. Quietly, a red maid of House Samos scampers into the chamber, a glass of wine in hand. She knows her orders and darts to my side, offering me the drink. With slow, exaggerated movements, I take the cup. I never break eye contact with the Red Commander as I drink. My fingers drum along the etched glass to hide my nerves. At worst, I'll make Father angry. At best, I smash the glass goblet on the floor. Even I flinch at the sound and implication. Father tries not to react, but his mouth tightens. You know me better than this. I'm not giving up without a fight. Without hesitation, the maids kneel to clean it up, sweeping shards of glass into her bare hands. And without hesitation, the fierce red woman vaults over her table, setting off a flurry of motion. Silvers jump to their feet, as do Reds, and Mare herself pushes off the wall, angling herself across her friend's path. The Red Commander towers over her, but Barrow holds her back all the same. How can we accept this? The woman shouts at me, thrusting a fist at the maid on the floor. The taint of blood increases tenfold as she slices her hands. How? Everyone in the room seems to be wondering the same thing. Shouts rise between more volatile members of each side. We are silver houses of noble and ancient blood, allied with rebels, criminals, servants, and thieves. Abilities or not, our ways of life stand in direct opposition. Our goals are not the same. The council chamber is a powder keg. If I'm lucky, it will explode. Blow apart any threat of marriage. Destroy the cage they want to put me back in. Over Mare's shoulder, the commander stares at me. Her eyes like two blue daggers. If this room with my own clothes weren't dripping with metal, I might be afraid. I stare back at her, looking every inch the silver princess she was raised to hate. At my feet, the maid finishes her work and shuffles away, her hands pin-cushioned with pieces of glass. I make a mental note to send Ren to heal her later. Poorly done, Mother whispers in her ear. She pats my arm and the snake slithers along her hand, curling over my skin. Its flesh is clammy and cold. I grit my teeth against the sensation. How can we accept this? The prince's voice cuts the chaos. It stuns many into silence, including the sneering Red Commander. Mare bodily removes her, escorting her back to her chair with some difficulty. The rest turn to the exiled prince, watching him as he straightens. The months have been good to Tiberius Kalor. A life of war suits him. He seems vibrant and alive, even after narrowly escaping death on the walls. In her seat, his grandmother allows herself the smallest smile. I feel my heart sink in my chest. I don't like that look. My hands claw the arms of my throne, nails digging into wood instead of flesh. Every single person in this room knows we have reached a tipping point. His eyes wander to find Mare. He draws strength from her. If I were a sentimental person, I might be moved. Instead, I think of Elaine, left safely behind in the rich house. Ptolemus has need of an heir, and neither of us wanted her in the battle. Excuse me. Even so, I wish she were here to sit beside me. I wish I didn't have to suffer this alone. Excuse me. Cal was trained to the statecraft, and he is no stranger to speeches. Still, he is not as talented as his brother, and he trips up more than a few times as he prowls the floor. Unfortunately, no one seems to mind. Reds have lived their lives as glorified slaves, bounded to their lots, be it in a slum town, in one of our palaces, or in the mud of a river village. A flush spreads across Mare's cheeks. I used to think as I was taught, that our ways were set. Reds were inferior. Changing their place would never come to pass. Not without bloodshed. Not without great sacrifice. Once I thought those things were too high a cost to pay. But I was wrong. To those of you who disagree, he glares at me, and I tremble, who believe yourself better, who believe yourself gods, you are wrong. And not because people like the Lightning Girl exist. Not because we silently find ourselves in need of allies to defeat my brother. Because you are simply wrong. I was born a prince. I knew more privilege than almost anyone here. I was raised with servants at my beck and call, and I was taught that their blood, because of a color, meant less than mine. Reds are stupid. Reds are rats. Reds are incapable of controlling their own lives. Reds are meant to serve. Those are words we have all heard. And they are lies. Convenient ones that make our lives easier, our shame non-existent, and their lives unbearable. He stops next to his grandmother, tall at her side. It can't be tolerated anymore. It simply can't be. Difference is not division. Poor naive Kalor. His grandmother nods in approval. But I remember her in my own house, and what she said. She wants her grandson on the throne, and she wants the old world. Premier, Tiberius says, gesturing to the Montfort leader. With a clearing of his throat, the man stands. Taller than most, but weedy. He has the look of a pale fish with an equally empty expression. King Valo, we thank you for your aid in the defense of Corvia. And here, now, before the eyes of our leadership and your own, I would like to know your sentiments on what Prince Tiberius has just said. If you have a question, Premier, ask it, Father rumbles. The man keeps his face still, unreadable. I get the sense he hides as many secrets and ambitions as the rest of us. Would that I could put the screws to him. Red and silver, your majesty. Which color rises in this rebellion? A muscle quivers in one pale cheek of as my father exhales. He runs a hand through his pointed beard. Both, Premier. This is a war for us both. Unless you have my word, sworn on the heads of my children. Thank you so much, Father. The Red Commander would collect that price with a smile if given the opportunity. Prince Tiberius speaks truthfully. Father continues, lying through his teeth. Our world has changed. We must change with it. Common enemies make strange allies, but we are allies all the same. As with Celine, I sense a noose tightening. It loops around my neck, threatening to hang me above the abyss. Is this what the rest of my life feels like? I want to be strong. This is what I trained and suffered for. This is what I thought I wanted. But freedom was too sweet. One gasp of it and I can't let it go. I'm sorry, Elaine. I'm sorry. Do you have other questions about the terms, Premier Davidson? Father pushes on. Or shall I continue planning the overthrow of a tyrant? And what terms would those be? Mare's voice sounds different, and no wonder. I knew her last a prisoner, smothered almost beyond recognition. Her sparks have returned with a vengeance. She glanced between Father and her Premier, looking to them for answers. Father's almost gleeful as he explains, and I held my breath. Save me, Mayor Barrow. Lose the storm I know you have. Bewitch the prince as you always do. The kingdom of the Rift will stand in sovereignty after Maven is removed. The kings of steel will reign for generations, with allowances made for my red citizens, of course. I have no intention of creating a slave state like the one Norta is. Mare looks far from convinced, but holds her tongue. Of course, Norta will need a king of her own. Her eyes widen. Horror bleeds through her, and she whips her head to Cal, looking for answers. He seems just as taken aback as she fumes. The Lightning Girl is easier to read than the pages of a children's book. Annabelle rises from her seat to stand proudly. Her lined face beams as she turns to Cal, putting a hand to his cheek. He's too shocked to react to her touch. My grandson is the rightful king of Norta, and the throne belongs to him. Premier, Mare whispers, now looking at the Montfort leader. She is almost begging. A flicker of sadness pierces his mask. Montfort plunges to back the installment of He stops himself. The man looks anywhere but at Mare, King Tiberius. A current of heat ripples on the air. The prince is angry, violently so, and the worst is yet to come. For all of us. If I'm lucky, he'll burn the tower down. We will cement the alliance between the Rift and the rightful king in the usual way. Mother says, twisting the knife. She enjoys this. It takes everything to keep my tears inside, where no one else can see. The implication of her words is not lost on anyone. Cal gives a strangled sort of yelp, a gasp very unbecoming of a prince, let alone a king. Even after all this, Queen's trial still brought forth a royal bride. Mother runs a hand over mine, her fingers crossing where my wedding ring will be. Suddenly the high chamber feels stifling, and the smell of blood crashes through my senses. It's all I can think about, and I lean into the distraction, letting the sharp iron bite overwhelm me. My jaw clenches, teeth tight against all the things I want to say. They rattle in my throat, begging to be loose. I don't want this anymore. Let me go home. Each word is a betrayal to my house, my family, my blood. My teeth grit against one another, bone on bone. A locked cage for my heart. I feel trapped inside myself. Make him choose Mare. Make him turn me aside. She breathes heavily, her chest rising and falling at a rapid speed. Like me, she has too many words she wants to scream. I hope she sees how much I want to refuse. No one thought to consult me, the prince hisses, pushing his grandmother away. His eyes burn. He has perfected the art of glaring at a dozen people at once. You mean to make me a king without my consent? Annabelle has no fear of flame and seizes his face again. We're not making you anything. We're simply helping you be what you are. Your father died for your crown, and you want to throw it away? For who? Abandon your country? For what? He has no answer. Say no, say no, say no. But I already see the tug, the lure. Power seduces all, and it makes us blind. Cal is not immune to it. If anything, he is particularly vulnerable. All his life he watched a throne, preparing for a day it would be his. I know firsthand that's not a habit a person can easily break. And I know firsthand that few things taste sweeter than a crown. I think of Elaine again. Does he think of Mare? I need some air, he whispers. Of course, Mare follows him out, sparks trembling in her wake. On instinct, I almost call for another cup of wine. But I refrain. Mare isn't here to stop the command if she snaps again. And more alcohol will just make me sicker than I already am. Long live Tiberius VII, Annabelle says. The chamber echoes the sentiment. I only mouth the words. I feel poisoned. This is the epilogue. I believe this is Mare's point of view, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't say. He scrapes his bracelets together angrily, letting his wrists spit sparks. None of them catch or burst into flame. Spark after spark, each one cold and weak compared to mine. Useless. Futile. I follow him down a spiraling stair to a balcony. If it has a lovely view, I don't know. I don't have the capacity to see much farther than Cal. Everything inside of me quivers. Hope and fear battle through me in equal measure. I see it in Cal too, flashing behind his eyes. A storm rages in the bronze. Two kinds of fire. You promised, I whisper, trying to tear him apart without moving a muscle. Cal paces wildly before putting his back to the rails of the balcony. His mouth flops open and close, searching for something to say, for any explanation. He's not Maven, he's not a liar. I have to remind myself, he doesn't want to do this to you. But will that stop him? I didn't think. What logical person could want me to be king after what I've done? Tell me if you truly thought anyone would let me near a throne, he says. I've killed Silver's mare, my own people. He buries his face in his blazing hands, rubbing them over his features, like he wants to pull himself inside out. You killed Reds too. I thought you said there was no difference. Difference is not division. I snarl. You make a wonderful speech about equality, but let that Samos bastard sit there and claim a kingdom just like the one we want to end. Don't lie and say you didn't know about his terms. His new crown. My voice trails away before I can speak the rest aloud and make it real. You know I had no idea. Not one. I raise an eyebrow. Not a whisper from your grandmother? Not even a dream of this? He swallows hard, unable to deny his deepest desires. So he doesn't even try. There's nothing we can do to stop Samos. Not yet. I slap him across the face. His head moves with the momentum of the blow and stays that way. Looking out to the horizon, I refuse to see. My voice cracks. I'm not talking about Samos. I didn't know, he says. The words soft on the ash wind. Sadly, I believe him. It makes it harder to stay angry. And without anger, I only have fear and sorrow. I really didn't know. Tears burn salty tracks down my cheeks, and I hate myself for crying. I just watched who knows how many people die, and killed many of them myself. How can I shed tears over this? Over one person still breathing right before my eyes? My voice hitches. Is this the part where I ask you to choose me? Because it is a choice. You need only say no, or yes. One word holds both our fates. Choose me. Choose the dawn. He didn't before. He has to now. Shaking, I take his face in my hands and turn him to look at me. When he can't, when his bronze eyes focus on my lips or my shoulder, or the brand exposed to the warm air, something inside me breaks. I don't have to marry her, he murmurs. That can be negotiated. No, it can't. You know it can't. I laugh coldly at his absurd posturing. His eyes darken. And you know what marriage is to us. To Silvers. It doesn't mean anything. It has no bearing on what we feel, or who we feel for. Do you really think it's the marriage I'm angry about? Rage boils in me. Hot and wild and impossible to ignore. Do you really think I have any ambition to be your, or anyone's queen? Warm fingers tremble against mine. Their grip tightening as I start to slip away. Mare, think of what I can do. What kind of king I can be. Why does anyone need to be king at all? I ask slowly. Oh yeah, I should slow that down because it says that slowly. Okay. Why does anyone need to be a king at all? I ask slowly, sharpening every word. He has no answer. In the palace, during my imprisonment, I learned that Maven had been made by his mother, formed into the monster he became. There is nothing on earth that can change him or what she did. But Cal was made too. All of us were made by someone else, and all of us have some thread of steel that nothing and no one can cut. I thought Cal was immune to the corruptive temptation of power. How wrong I was. He was born to be a king. It's what he was made for. It's what he was made to want. Tiberius. I've never said his real name before. It doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit us. But that's who he is. Choose me. His hands smooth over mine, his fingers splaying to match my own. As he does, I shut my eyes. I allow myself one long second to memorize what he feels like that day in Piedmont, when the rainstorm caught us both. I want to burn. I want to burn. Mare, he whispers, choose me. Choose a crown. Choose another king's cage. Choose a betrayal to everything you've bled for. I find my thread of steel too. Thin, but unbreakable. I am in love with you, and I want you more than anything else in the world. His words sound hollow coming from me. Anything else in this world. Slowly, my eyelids flutter open. He finds a spine to match my gaze. Think what we could be together, he murmurs, trying to pull me closer. My feet hold firm. You know what you are to me. Without you, I have no one. I am alone. I have nothing left. Don't leave me alone. My breathing turns ragged. I kiss him for what could be, what might be, what will be, the last time. His lips feel strangely cold as we both turn to ice. You aren't alone. The hope in his eyes cuts deeply. You have your crown. I thought I knew what heartbreak was. I thought that was what Maven did to me. When he stood and left me kneeling. When he told me everything I ever thought him to be was a lie. But then I believed I loved him. I know now. I didn't know what love was, or even what the echo of heartbreak felt like. To stand in front of a person who's your whole world, and be told you are not enough. You are not the choice. You are not a shadow to the person who is your son. Mare, please. He begs like a child in his desperation. How did you think this was going to end? What did you really think would happen next? I feel the heat of him, even as every part of me goes cold. You don't have to do this. But I do. I turn away, deaf to his protests, but he doesn't try to stop me. He lets me walk away. Blood drowns out everything but my screaming thoughts. Terrible ideas, hateful words, broken and twisted like a bird without wings. They limp by, each one worse than the last. Not a God's chosen, but a God's cursed. That's what we all are. It's a wonder I don't fall down the spiraling steps of the tower. A miracle I make it outside without collapsing. The sun overhead is hatefully bright, a harsh contrast to the abyss inside me. I shove my hand deep into my uniform pocket and barely register the sharp sting of something. It doesn't take long to realize. The earring! The one Cal gave me. I almost laughed at the thought of it. Another broken promise. Another caloric betrayal. A burning need to run tugs at my heart. I want Keylorn. I want Jisa. I want Shay to appear and tell me this is another dream. I imagine them beside me. Their words and open arms of comfort. Another voice drowns them out. It burns my insides. Cal follows orders, but he can't make choices. I sigh at the thought of Maven's words. Cal did make a choice. And in the deepest parts of myself, I'm not surprised. The prince is as he always has been. A good person at his core, but unwilling to act. Unwilling to truly change himself. The crown is in his heart, and hearts do not change. Farley finds me in an alley, staring at a wall with blank eyes. My tears long since dried. She hesitates for once, her boldness long gone. Instead, she approaches with almost tender slowness, a hand outstretched to touch my shoulder. I didn't know until you did, she murmurs. I swear it. The person she loved is dead, stolen by someone else. Mine chose to walk away. Chose everything I hate over everything I am. I wonder which hurts more. Before I let myself relax into her, allow her to comfort me, I noticed someone else standing nearby. I knew. Premier Davidson says. It sounds like an apology. At first, I feel another surge of anger. But it isn't his fault. Cal didn't have to agree. Cal didn't have to let me go. Cal didn't have to eagerly leap into a well-baited trap. Divide and conquer, I whisper, remembering his own words. The fog of heartbreak clears enough for me to understand. Montfort and the Scarlet Guard would never support a Silver King. Not truly. Not without other motives at play. Or in play. Davidson nods his head. It's the only way to beat them. Samus, Kalor, Signet, the Rift, Norta, the Lakelands, all driven by greed. All ready to break one another for an already broken crown. All part of Montfort's own plan. I forced another breath, and tried to recover. Tried to forget Cal, forget Maven, focused on the road ahead. Where it leads, I don't know. Somewhere in the distance, somewhere in my bones, thunderbolts. We're going to let them kill each other. And that is the end of King's Cage, the third book in the Red Queen series. Holy moly, this whole book was a crazy roller coaster. Some of these kind of last two chapters, basically, Cal, Mare, and Farley, and probably many others, but at least those three for sure, did not know that Annabelle wanted to get Cal on the throne. Obviously we did because we're reading it, but they didn't know, and in the end, Cal ended up choosing that he wanted the crown again. In some ways, Mare kind of understood because he's a prince, even if exiled, he's a prince. He was raised to want the crown. Understandable a little bit. But at the same time, she's so hurt because here's all this work she has put in for this movement of equality between red and silver, and all of a sudden, poof, he just chooses something that, you know, he just kind of walks away from her, and I don't blame her. And I also like how she points out, like, I thought I knew what love was. And that's something that actually my own mom has told me before, is that you can only love someone as much as you know what love is. And I think that really sticks true because, you know, for a long time, Mare probably didn't really realize what was love until, really, I'd say about this book. Maybe kind of also the last book, but especially this book. And I feel so bad for her because, like, she's worked so hard, and this guy who, she loves him, he loves her, and he's just walking away. He's walking away from her. and train it like he should be choosing, like she should be choosing him. And it's like you're forgetting what she's been trying to do this entire time, Cal. You know? But that is the last 2 chapters, basically. Yeah, this book itself has been a roller coaster, from Mare being imprisoned to eventually becoming free, to them figuring things out, Mare training, Mare getting her strength back, Cal and Mare's bond growing, to eventually it breaking, and so many other things in this book. God, I love this series. But, yep, that is King's Cage, the 3rd book in the Red Queen series. Next week, we will be starting Warstorm. Warstorm is the 4th and final book in the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. So stay tuned for next week when we can start off Warstorm. And I think it has like way more chapters, like 37 or something. It's got a whole lot more than the other ones. So, yeah. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you all very thoroughly enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next video. Mwah. Bye!